Hello, BookTube. I haven't done a Brattle book haul in quite some time, have I? I never miss a mail haul, but I go to the Brattle quite often. And just the other day, I had tremendous luck with my favorite kind of writing, biographies, big fat biographies. So I thought I'd show the two. It's not a big stack, and just opine about them for a bit. I'm still filming this on my MacBook. Uh, Mainly because the majority of you have said that it's sharper and easier to hear than the videos that I filmed on my phone, my poor drowned iPhone. uh, I don't see that, and only one other of you has said that you don't see it. To me, these videos look worse, but I'm not the one watching them. So if you all think this is good technology, then I'll just keep using it. My The saga of my iPhone has largely come to an end. The repair shop was able to repair everything about it except the Wi-Fi chip. That they simply cannot fix. So I have the phone, and it calls, and it texts, and it takes pictures, and it takes videos, and it tells me the time, and all sorts of other things, but it does not access the internet. Uh, So the only question that I had, and I'm still working on it because I'm not quite tech savvy, my only remaining question was, if I take a video on that phone, can I transfer it directly to this MacBook? Or if more importantly, if I take pictures, because I used to take pictures with it all the time, stuff that, anything that I saw that I thought was interesting. I don't have anything to do that now if I can't remove those pictures from the phone. I gave it a little try, and it didn't work, so I mustn't be understanding how to do it, but I feel certain that Wi-Fi or no Wi-Fi, if I physically connect an iPhone with a MacBook, I should be able to transfer everything off that iPhone, of any picture or video. If I just figure out how to do it, I will figure out how to do it, or I'll have somebody else figure out how to do it. So that's where I'm going to keep using the MacBook for the time being. I would like to be able to take pictures and videos on the phone, because sometimes a little phone is easier to manipulate for placement purposes than a great big MacBook. But I'll work on it, and if not, if it doesn't work, then it seems to be essential. The guy at the shop, who was a little distraught that he couldn't save my Wi-Fi, made me a great deal on an iPhone 6, which is a new, sleek, big iPhone. It is certainly a nice piece of technology. One checky poo from a commission somewhere would certainly and painlessly afford it, and then maybe I do that. I've been asking myself the question all day: do I really need Wi-Fi on my phone? And I've been mostly coming up with the answer: no, I don't. I can film on this machine, and you all seem to like it. I can still call anybody in emergencies or otherwise. I can still text. So I don't know. I'll keep you updated because I know you're riveted. But in the meantime, I wanted to show you these biographies that I got at the Brattle. Starting with this one. This will be a reread. Of course, they're all rereads. This is H.W. Brand's Reagan biography from years ago. This is actually from, I think, 2014. Was that when this was? 2015, which I eagerly awaited. And I grabbed it again because 2017 is going to be a fairly good year for presidential biographies, which are a kind of soft spot of mine. English royalty and American presidents, I will read any major work, and plenty of minor ones on both those subjects. And Reagan, I find a particularly compelling modern day president. So I was waiting because I love this biographer, and the book very much disappointed me. It's not an authorized biography. That was Edmund Morris who did that and produced the weird, wonderful book Dutch. But it reads like an unauthorized autobiography, where if the author wants to know what happened during a certain event at Camp David, or a certain conversation, on the South Lawn of the White House or wherever, he consults the published memoirs of the men who were there, from the president on down. Which is a bizarre thing for a biographer to do, because a biographer as skilled as this one has got to know that that's the last place you go for verifiable truth. You can use that for color, You can use it to check with other sources and against other sources, but you can't just say, well, if John Ashcroft says that it happened, then it happened. Especially since 9/10 of the major players in the Reagan administration eventually came under indictment for one form or another of perjury. It just doesn't work. And I kept waiting for the other shoe to fall. I kept waiting for, in addition to the life writing, I kept waiting for the scholarship, which is inquiry. That is the heart and soul of scholarship, is inquiry, doubt and inquiry. Okay, I have a fact. How do I know that's a fact? And who says it is? And why? I kept waiting for that, and it doesn't happen in the book. So I reviewed it. I'll try to remember to leave a link to my review down below. And I was disappointed, but I remembered it ever since. I foolishly got rid of my hardcover. So there's the bookish goal. This is the trade paperback. The bookish goal is for me eventually to find the hardcover, because I would snap it up in a heartbeat. But in the meantime, I am going to reread it and see what later impressions it makes on me. I don't see myself changing my mind on the larger question of whether or not it's a rigorous biography. It seemed credulous to me at the time. I'm sure it still will, but I'm gonna dig into it again. It's gonna be a great deal of fun. I might make the second half of 2017. I might devote special emphasis to presidential biographies, not just the ones coming out in the second half of 2017, but also a ton of earlier ones. I might just indulge myself in rereading and refinding them all, because it's utterly fascinating. And then the next one, speaking of the other half of the coin, British royalty, is our guy. This is Edward VII. This is by Giles St. Aubin, and it's got the feckless subaltern on the front cover. I have no idea why you put a chinless wonder like that on the front cover when you have the magnificent royal portrait on the back. I don't know why you would do that. Although I do like the fact that there's no falderall on the book. There are no blurbs or anything like that on the back or on the front. It's just the thing itself. And St. Aubin he's again not the most rigorous scholarly biographer, but he's a fantastic writer. All of the St. Aubins, every branch of the whole family, they can all write like the Dickens. Especially when it comes to problematic personalities and problematic family life. So Edward VII is perfect for this author, and he doesn't disappoint. It's wonderful. Again, you wouldn't go to. It's not the most scholarly biography at all. We just encountered the best one of those, the Magnus biography. But you still, if you're interested in the subject, you want to read all around. This is full of St. Aubin's insights into Edward. And that's as interesting to me as the facts. I already know the facts. And I didn't have this. I had a copy years ago, but so I was very happy to find it. And then yet more British royalty. Then we go from Edward VII to his father. This is King Without a Crown by Daphne Bennett. It is her big, sympathetic biography of Prince Albert, Queen Victoria's prince consort, who... He's an ideological football for historical interpretation. There are whole schools of people who say that he was a pretty cipher who had a few piddling little ideas, and the fact that those ideas have been overblown by hagiographers ever since is a mark not of Albert's brilliance, but rather of how utterly stupid prince consorts usually are. and then there's the other side. There's another school that says that Albert, and she is of that school, says that Albert was actually the driving force behind the first part of Queen Victoria's reign, and a huge driving force in society as well, modernizing the monarchy, bringing it in line with the people, making all sorts of advances in society, in the upper crust of society's acceptance of science and that sort of thing. And I find the debate fascinating. I don't actually know where I come down on Albert, but I remember loving this book. I think it might be the best biography of Prince Albert, and it's got, believe it or not, a lot of competition, including a rather enormous one that I wrote about. If I remember, I will leave the link down below. Not that any of you are surprised. I'm sure that by now a lot of you are getting the impression that maybe I've written about everything. I intend to keep doing it too until the bitter end. And then we move away from royalty and away from presidents. We move to another sweet spot of mine that didn't used to be. For the longest time, I used to hate biographies of literary figures. For the longest time, I used to think, well, I don't want to know anything about what this person was going through in their lower intestine or in their intravenous drug use while they were writing a masterpiece that I love. I don't want to know that about the masterpiece, and I don't care about them. But I have come to realize that that's not a good attitude. To say that the creator of literature doesn't matter, it's the literature itself that matters. When I did all along eagerly read biographies of the Wright brothers, of the engineers who built the Panama Canal, that sort of thing, where in any other artistic endeavor, in any other creation, I of course want to know about the creator too. And I realize that it's just dumb to exempt literature from that. These people led fascinating lives, a lot of them did. So I have a nice big shelf of real classics, of the very best literary biographies, and this is one of the best. And the only reason that I didn't have a copy is because, again, I constantly give it away when I have it, and it's this. It's City Poet by Brad Gooch, his biography of Frank O'Hara, the poet. And I don't know if we have yes, okay. We have a picture of Brad Gooch. That is when he wrote this book, and he wrote a few books before this, and he started writing right away. He started writing in high school and just kept going. And he's tremendously good. We saw him as a biographer of the poet Rumi. But you want to take that picture and just de-age it, because you just go back in time. The further back in time you go, the more hair and the better looking. It's just incredible. He announced to all and sundry that he was going to be working on a biography of Frank O'Hara, and I thought the worst. I thought, oh my God, Frank O'Hara is one of my favorite modern poets, and a difficult person to understand, full of contradictions, full of frictions. And I thought, okay, well, you're an extremely good-looking young man. You're not really going to do this subject justice, and I was totally wrong. This is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And maybe you needed that. Maybe that's what was necessary. There's a lot of what an earlier generation used to refer to as simpatico between biographer and subject in this book. And in biographies of literary figures, as opposed to any other kind of biography, I found that usually works in favor of the biography. So I know this is a tough sell. It's actually tougher than U.S. presidents or British royalty. So I don't really, I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with the poetry of Frank O'Hara. You certainly should be if you're not, and read it out loud. Or better yet, I'm sure that on YouTube there are clips of him reading it in his inimitable accent. So listen to a few of those. It's totally, on this channel I have often criticized contemporary poetry for being intentionally obscure and unreachable. And Frank O'Hara's poetry is the exact opposite of that. It's meant to be enjoyed, and that's what poetry should be, in my opinion. But if you're familiar with his poetry and you haven't read this book, you'll really like it. And that was my Brattle haul. It was all biographies. I didn't see anything else this time around that I really wanted. Instead, it was just 4 big biographies of various figures. So I thought I'd show them to you. Just in a quick video, and I'll get back to new stuff promptly. Thank you, Booktube.